Hey guys, welcome back to the channel once again. Today, back on the 2005 Dodge Durango. This time, it's going to get upper control arms and ball joints. As you're going to see here in a second, the ones that are on there now, the boots have been ripped for literally years. I think at least 5 years. This had been sitting in the backyard. Haven't driven it in the last couple of years, but now I'm driving it 5.5 hours one way and back on the weekends, and it's time to do some work. One of the other reasons, there's no slop in them. If you lift it up and you shake side to side, or you lift up and down with the pry bar, but they're so bad that they're creaking. The ball is creaking in the socket as you turn. So enough talking, let's get to it. So I think I already said this is the 65 Chinese Amazon special. They both say RLH, so right left hand. I'm guessing that's what it stands for. They've got the same part number. These two look the same. They look asymmetrical from my vantage point. So I'm thinking both sides are the same, and you're not getting, they're not right and left hand specific. So let's get those old ones off. It doesn't take much to see how ripped and how bad this thing is. But what I also see here is that new problem is a ripped CV axle. So this axle boot is ripped and it's flinging grease everywhere. So that is yet a project for another day. But I use this Mega Blaster Torx Nitro, pretty heavy brushless impact, and it's a monster. But let me find some wrenches and bolts. The lug nuts are 7/8. Looks like maybe some 18 and 21. I know some of these Dodges mix metrics and standard, so we'll see how it goes. All right, I am, not lying, an experienced alignment tech with certifications in the state of Michigan around the year 2004 to prove it. Somewhere, I've got those certs somewhere. But I can't find my paint pens, so I used chalk to outline the bolts so that I know where they go. Also, I can see kind of by eye how much of the slot is remaining. My other method, as you can see here, is this string. So I've taped the string to the top of the fender well, and I've tied it to this lawnmower spark plug, and I've centered it directly over the center of this tie rod. Ball joint. So this ball joint, getting it returned to this position is probably the most important part, because that is your camber and your caster. So if I can get the new one centered perfectly where this one is, we should theoretically be aligned back to where it was perfectly without putting it on a machine, because this thing has been aligned perfectly and is driving marvelously. So my goal is to put it back where it was and not be concerned. I do have like a torpedo level I've used in the past, so I'll use that, but making sure the camber and the caster is lined up. Also, I know that looking down the center of this, so one thing, you look down the center, obviously if you make a center line down this one, it's going to be centered right about here. So it's not quite centered on anything there, but if I draw a line down the new one, and it's more like here, but pretty close. So if I draw a line down the new one, down the center of the new one, just like this, I'm going to line up with that chalk line. So those are a few things you can do to avoid needing to send it to an alignment shop. But yeah, so I'm going to take those bolts off. Those are 18 millimeter because of this ABS bracket and just how tight it is here. Maybe if I took the fender well out, I'd get to that one with something more than a wrench, but I'm just going to use a wrench. And then for the one in the ball joint, I've just got this nice setup here, and I'll use my impact. So let's do that. These larger bolts here are slotted, milled, so they're flat. So you don't have to worry about holding these with whatever the hex size wrench that is, because they'll stay in there. I was very concerned about this one. Looks like, you almost have to take that bracket off, but you do not. So it just slid right out. So this thing, there it is. Let's go take this over here, see what we got. So here's our, I don't know if you can hear that. Ooh-wee, that is downright unsafe. And this one, you'll barely be able to move. So yeah, the difference. So there's also a difference in, this has the jam nut. I do kind of like this. Listen to that. And this is the castle nut. So you're going to have a castle nut and a cotter pin. So this is just fine. But yeah, I mean, I would prefer if these were greasable, but they're not. Otherwise, this was, it wasn't making noise, surprisingly, but that's pretty bad. And the other side is just as bad. So let me get this side in, back together. I'll probably bring you back when I'm tightening these bolts down to make sure that I'm lined up with my amazing plumb bob alignment tool. Redneck ingenuity at its finest, folks. All right, for the most part, this stuff went in real easy. I'll tell you that my ratcheting 18 millimeter is money on this job. The one problem I'm having now is as I try to line these up, they bind and I can't finesse it. It either goes all the way or not far enough. So yeah, trying to get this thing trying to get this control arm back to where the original location was is not as easy as it should be. It's not that bad, but like I said, getting it underneath it with this pry bar and bumping it a little bit, I think is kind of I guess the key here. All right, so I think just about. Side is not quite where it needs to be. A little too far forward. I think it's too far back now. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I line this up center. The gap between the nut and the edge of this slot is good. On this side, it's the same as it was before. This spark plug did fall off. It is pretty much where it was before. It's a little farther in. So the only thing I might do is take the other one, since they're identical, and the other new one and the old one, and then lay them down to make sure. I'll show you that here in a sec, to make sure they're the same height, because this spark plug is a little farther this way, but like I said, it did fall off, so it was a little bit longer, and it was kind of canted before, but pretty close. It is in the center. Yeah, so I did have to use a few extra tools. I tried the crow's foot to get back here. It didn't work. Just kind of hitting the edge of the ball joint with a hammer, lightly tapping it, moved it back and forth. I did use this bungee here because sometimes when you pull this completely out, the part of the hub, this upper ball joint mount will fall out, come out at you. And this is aluminum. I mean, I don't know, I've been driving this thing for a long time and it's pretty tough, but yeah, it's aluminum for a big HEMI powered, little SUV. But yeah, you saw using 2 wrenches to tighten them up, about the same torque that I loosened it to. A longer pry bar under here, under this bolt, and on top of this control arm to help push it down is good. And like I said, this ratcheting 18 millimeter was money. And then this works killer of an impact with the 21 millimeter on the end of the swivel worked great to just kind of come up in this general location and put it on there. So yeah, that's it. This side's done. Let me go measure. Let me go measure those two. Make sure we're not dealing with some type of size problem. All right, guys. So hopefully this helps you see what I was trying to say. What I'm concerned about was when these are set upright like this. You know, this old one. If this old one was, now that I'm like this one looks longer, obviously like that. But once you're centered and they're straight up and down, the ball joints line up perfectly. So what could be a problem if in aftermarket, and I think we've seen it in the past, is that it's like a fraction of an inch smaller. So if this one was a fraction of an inch smaller, the entire control arm would have to come out farther to match the camber, because and you couldn't reset it to the same location, especially if the upper control arm mounts weren't slotted. So if they weren't slotted, it wouldn't be possible without a special nubby cam bolt or narrower bolt to line it up. So these are good. They're the same height. So no concern there. It's going to be just right. I'll like I said, I checked it with my trusty torpedo level, and I'll check it again when I'm done and make sure we are at the right camber. We should be all set. Well, that's it, guys. I'm going to put this side back together, jump on that side, which is just as bad as this side. If it's bad, I'll or worse, or there's anything to report, I think it's about the same as this side. I'll show you. Otherwise, it's going to be the same. You know, like I said, but if there's a problem, if there's anything I need to show you, I will. You'll be seeing that right now. All right, so I know I said I'd bring you back in if I found something worse. I did not find something worse. I found something better. Clearly, CV axle not leaking. This ball joint is not as bad, but it's pretty rough. See, boot again. It's not shiny, but it's bad. But the biggest thing is I was able to get the Master Blaster Torx Works impact with the 18 millimeter on both of these bolts. So I was able to get it in there with the swivel and the long extension, and then I was able to use for the last little bit of this bolt here, I was able to use another power tool. So it coming out much faster. So I just want to let you know this side is easier to disassemble, but better on this vehicle. Not as bad on the other side, but still pretty rough. So yeah, I'll finish this one up. It's going a little quicker. We'll be done soon. And if not, it went just like this side. So not a bad job, pretty easy. Took me less than an hour to do one side. I'm gonna move on to the other side. Should go a little bit quicker, and put it back together, and then double check my alignment. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Catch you on the next one.